Right, let's get right into it. We're zeroing in on a question that's probably on the mind of every single investor looking at the UAE right now. When it comes to real estate in 2025, where's the smart money going?
So here's the big showdown we're looking at. Commercial versus residential. Is it the powerhouse of global business that's going to win out? Or is it the slow and steady champion, the residential market that's fueled by population growth? It's a huge question, so let's break it down.
Okay, first things first, let's set the stage. We're talking about the UAE property arena. And believe me, it's not just some local market. This is a global stage, a real battleground for investors, which means the stakes, they're sky high.
And to help us navigate this whole thing, we're going to be leaning on the analysis of Dr. Pooyan Ghamari. Now, he's a Swiss economist, the founder of the ALandPlatform, and he really specializes in these kinds of international investments. So he's the perfect guide to help us get straight to what really matters.
So right off the bat, here's the core of the decision. It's all about this fundamental trade-off in annual yields. Look at commercial property. You're seeing returns in the neighborhood of 7 to 10%. That's pretty juicy. On the other hand, residential is a bit more conservative, sitting at around 5 to 7%. This difference, this yield gap, that's the starting line for any serious investor.
All right, in this corner, our first contender, commercial real estate. You got to think of this as the heavyweight champion, It's powered by the raw engine of business, trade, and all that global commerce.
And what makes commercial so strong? Well, it's all tied into the UAE's big picture economic vision. I mean, the country is a massive hub for trade and tourism, right? So that means there's a constant, hungry demand for office space, for retail, for hotels. Plus, you have this huge wave of tech and finance companies flooding in, particularly in places like Dubai's DFC. And don't even get me started on e-commerce. That's creating this incredible need for more and more logistics hubs.
Now this really shows you the momentum we're talking about. Check it out. Commercial lease rates in the DIFC grew by 12%. That's a huge signal. But then you glance over at the residential side and whoa, a 15% jump in the number of transactions. So what does this tell us? Both markets are absolutely on fire, but they're growing in totally different ways. One is all about rising prices, the other is about sheer volume. But, and this is a big but, with high rewards, you get high risks. Commercial property is definitely not for the faint of heart. For starters, you need some serious capital just to get in the door. And those long leases, yeah, they sound great for steady income, but they can also be a trap. You're locked in, and if the global economy shifts, think interest rates or oil prices, you're exposed in a big way.
Okay, let's bring out our second contender, residential. Now, if commercial is the flashy heavyweight, you can think of residential as the steady, resilient champion. Its power comes from something more fundamental, community, government policy, and, the simple fact that people need a place to live.
So what's the secret sauce here? It's simple. People. The expat population is just growing and growing, especially with things like the Golden Visa program encouraging folks to put down long-term roots. And for an investor, that means the barrier to entry is way lower. You can get into the game with off-plan properties, which offers a lot more flexibility.
And this is where it gets really interesting. As Dr. Ghamari puts it, investing in a home here isn't just a financial move. It taps into something deeper. It aligns with the whole country's vision for long-term residency. This creates a kind of brand loyalty and community feel that, honestly, you're just never going to find in a commercial office building.
And if you need proof, just look at this number. There's a 20% increase in buyer sentiment for projects that really focus on community. We're talking green spaces, wellness amenities, that sort of thing. It's so clear. People aren't just buying 4 walls and a roof. They're buying into a whole lifestyle.
Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. The residential market has its own set of risks. You've got the classic problem of oversupply, which can really squeeze your rental income. You've got speculative buying that can create unstable bubbles. And you always have to remember, the government can step in at any time with new rules that could cool the market right down.
Okay, so we've got our 2 big contenders, right? Each with their pros and cons. But what if there's a wild card? Something that could come in and just completely change the rules of the game for both of them? Well, that's exactly what technology is doing.
The word you need to know is tokenization. And don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. The simplest way to think about it is this. Imagine taking a massive, multi-million-dollar building and digitally slicing its ownership into thousands of tiny, affordable pieces, almost like a pizza. Anyone can buy or sell these pieces, and the whole thing is super secure because it's on a blockchain.
So, how does this actually work for you? It's a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, a high-value property gets bought. Second, the ownership of that property gets turned into digital tokens. And third, you and other investors can buy and sell small fractions of that property. It's that simple.
And the impact of this is, well, it's massive. It completely democratizes real estate. Suddenly, you don't need to be a millionaire to own a piece of a prime building. And when you bring in other innovations like gold-pegged crypto, you get this amazing hedge against volatility. It just opens up a whole new world of secure cross-border investing.
So, we've looked at the pros, the cons, and this huge tech wildcard. The big question remains, how do you pick your champion in this fight?
So, what's the final verdict? Well, here it is. There's no single winner. It's not that simple. The absolute best investment comes down to you. It depends entirely on your goals, how much capital you have, and frankly, how much risk you're willing to take on.
And this table really puts it all side by side for a final head-to-head. Are you chasing those higher yields like 7 to 10% and you've got the deep pockets for it? Commercial's probably your lane. Or do you prefer a lower barrier to entry and the kind of stability that comes with population growth? Then residential is likely your champion. It's really all about finding the perfect match for your own investor profile.
Which leaves us with one last really fascinating question to chew on. With technology like tokenization making it possible to fractionalize ownership, are we heading towards a future where owning an entire property is old-fashioned? I mean, is the future of real estate investing less about owning whole buildings and more about building a portfolio out of tiny digital pieces? It's definitely something to think about.